I'm Ed.
I'm Jonathan. Welcome to another episode of Small Town Polar.
On this episode, we're going to try to finish up fabrication on Jonathan's new tractor in preparation for Waterloo. We got a lot of work left, so we need to get going. So Jonathan plays with the steering wheel. I'll give you an update. We got a lot of stuff accomplished. A lot of the turbo stuff is all done. The cage is all built. But we got a lot of other stuff to do. Transmission mount's going to be one thing, and we come to find out when we were playing with everything that the old transmission mount wasn't actually doing a whole lot. The castings broke, so this actually just kind of fell off when we were working on the tractor the other day. So we are going to have to make a new transmission mount. So we're already going to be making new mounts on the frames, on the frame rails, so that's not a huge deal, but it would have been nice to be able to bolt it right back on here. Unfortunately, that's not going to be an option. I probably will use this bolt for part of it, and I may come off of these bolts as well. Just trying to making sure it's nice and sturdy. We also got to get the steering figured out. We're going to try to cut this bracket down a little bit so the steering shaft will hopefully work. Otherwise, I don't know, because if we run it underneath the header, it actually puts this at a really tight angle, and I don't know if it'll work there. So hopefully we can make that work, and that will simplify some things. We don't have the brakes figured out yet. The drive shaft is supposed to be here on Monday, so that we can get that installed, but we do have to change out the rear carrier yet. So we got a lot of little things to do, but not impossible. So we're going to get taking everything apart and get going. Yeah, we probably should fix that wiring too. We got to make a battery mount too.
We should put black electrical tape around it.
Yeah, we'll get it. But we're going to get tools out and get going on her. So while I've been trimming up on the frame, Jonathan got this bracket off. We cut the angle off of here to hopefully make the steering clear, and we're going to get really lucky. I mean, it's going to be tight, but steering will actually clear right through here, and it's going to end up going, the angles are going to be perfect for going up onto the steering. So that's going to work out really well. The only thing we're going to have to do is make a new mount for this and extend this a little bit, but overall, that's going to work a lot better. We're going to have a lot shorter angles on the U-joints too, so hopefully it steers a little bit better. But we got lucky there. I was afraid we were going to have to start doing multiple different U-joints to get it to pass through the exhaust, because we tried running it down across here, and the angle going up into the steering was way too tight. So this is actually, like I say, this is going to be, we got really lucky on this one. Worked out pretty good. So high five. Now back on to cleaning off the frame rails so we can weld on the new mounts. So we got all of the sides kind of cleaned off. I cut into a couple of the frame rails a little bit, so I had to weld them up. But we've got these clamped to the bottom of the frame. That way it kind of sits these level with the bottom of the frame. And these pieces of angle iron, what they're going to do is we're going to be able to bolt cross members to these and the brakes to them. I'm actually going to, after we weld these on, there's going to be a plate that welds across the bottom of it to the bottom of the frame rail, so it'll actually be a 1/4 inch thick on the bottom, which should give us enough support. So we're going to get these tack welded in, and then I think we're going to try to get 1 or 2 of the cross members cut, and then we'll probably call it a day from there. And it worked out. Jonathan cut these while I was welding these in place, and so this will work good. We're going to notch this, we're going to drop this down a little bit so it's the same height as this, but then we'll be able to put a floorboard that sits back on here and comes all the way up in here, so it'll be a nice place to stand while we're driving it, or while we're getting off and on. So I think we're going to call it a day. Jonathan's going to be able to work on this a little bit on Monday because he's got off of school, so I think he's going to start taking the rear carrier and stuff out of this, because we do need to switch that, so that'll be a big job done. If we get the new carrier in it, we can put the drive shaft in it and one more piece of the puzzle done, because then we got to build a cover for the drive shaft.
The drive shaft needs to be here.
Yeah, we'll get the drive shaft will be here Monday. So All right, let's pack up our tools and call it a day. So we're down here tonight, and again, working on the tractor. Jonathan's loosening the motor mounts. We goofed up, and when we set this one back in here or put this mount back on, we put it on the wrong side. I noticed today when I was measuring the tail shaft and found out that was all goofy, and then Jonathan's like, yeah, it's because we put it on the wrong side. So he's loosening up the motor mount so we can do that. After that, he's going to start putting on the new carburetor. Finally showed up.
It took a couple of months.
Yeah, I think we started talking about this back in, I think October, November is when we started ordering the carb. But here it is. Kevin at CSU Carbs over in California is who put this carb together for me. Blow through methanol 2-barrel, a little bit different than what most people will go with. And that's what we're going to try this year. He thinks it'll work. Everybody I've been talking to, the CFM and everything, should be good for this motor. So after Jonathan gets that done, he's going to start putting the carburetor on because he's been waiting to do that since October, November. So
we gotta put a little stud thing in.
Yep, we have to put a stud. There's a couple other little things we gotta do to it, inlets and stuff like that. He set some extra jets and stuff with it, but he'll get that put on, then
it's fat, like it's.
Yeah,
fat
he did say that it's set a little fat, which is how I would have set it anyways. So he sent us some extra jets with it. So hopefully it's a little fat going down the track and we can take a little out of it. We did have the rear end out of this thing to take the spool out of it. We did have a carrier that come with it, and I didn't look at the carrier good enough because we took everything apart the other night to find out it's not the same carrier. So
9-inch.
Yep, it's actually a 9-inch, which anybody that doesn't know the difference between a 9-inch and an 8-inch, you can usually tell there's a flat spot on the top of an 8-inch. The 9-inch doesn't really have that, and I knew that. I've always known that, and the center section we have is for a 9-inch, and we tore everything apart and put the bearings on it, and then I went to put it in the carrier, and it didn't fit. So I think I did locate one. Hopefully I'll have it next week, and we can put the rear end back together, slide the axles in, and go from there. But I need to keep going on getting the floorboards mounted, so I'm working on transmission mount. We're going to come off of these back two bolts, go down to this plate. I'm going to keep working on that while Jonathan keeps working on getting this motor kind of set back where it's supposed to be. Stuck around a little bit last night. Jonathan actually worked on getting this plate made to go in there. So we're going to do a little bit of trimming on that. We're going to get that tack welded in. Next he's going to start making these. I've been working on all the stuff in the center. Got a lot of that stuff cut. We're going to try to get a lot of stuff tack welded in today, or if not, final welded. I do got to change the transmission mount a little bit. I didn't realize, I should have noticed it, but the bolt on this side on the transmission actually sits down a little bit lower, so I need to adjust that. So I'm going to start on that while Jonathan starts cutting out them two brackets. We got this new pipe made. Like I say, we'll get all that stuff kind of tack welded in today. We do want to put a brace right here too, because that's going to vibrate a lot, and I'm afraid that's going to start to crack. So we're going to put a brace in there as well. So we got a couple hours this morning before we got to take off, and then get back at it. So we're going to call it for the day. Got a lot of brackets kind of cut, ready to weld in. All that stuff's got a place to go. Jonathan's been working on practicing his welding this morning. He's getting there. He just needs a little more time practicing with it. So we had some time this morning, so he just kind of welded with that. Overall, though, we got most of the mounts made. Did have to remake this one just because of screwing up the first one, but all that stuff is kind of ready to go. A lot of the holes are kind of pre-drilled, so hopefully when we come in this week, we can get all that stuff kind of tacked in and welded in and ready to go. So we're making progress, probably a little behind. We got a little over a month and a half to get it in the trailer, so we'll get it. Just gotta keep plugging away at it. So it's gonna be kind of loud in here, but I had some time this week at work. We wanted to do a little bit of a color change. We did a quick prep on all the parts. And like I say, I'm fortunate that I'm going to have time today during work to spray these, but just want to do a little bit of a color change, straighten a couple little dents, nothing real quick, but just make the tractor look a little bit better. So we're going to get the paint mixed up, we got to do a little bit of sealer work on the fenders, and then we're going to get some new color on it. And there you have it, all painted. Just a little bit different color of burgundy. Again, these are all colors I have just kind of left over sitting in my one cabinet. It should look pretty cool out in the sun. I like it. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the color. Last 2 tractors we've done have been a burgundy color, so next one will probably not be. But again, just let us know. Back at it again. Johnson's working on taking that front slab weight. Wow, that is bigger than I thought. That is going to weigh more than I thought. It's just a weight that's clamped on the front. We do need to shed some weight off the front since we moved the motor ahead. That should be enough right there. So Jonathan will get that off. Be careful, bud. You're probably going to want to put the floor jack underneath it in the center before you get it too loose.
I have these to hold.
Yeah. Don't forget these 2 go onto it too.
Yeah.
So he's working on that. I was able to work on this a little bit yesterday during work hours. Did some welding, got these kind of finished up. Got the brace put in here. Just a couple little odd ends done. The brackets or the supports in the back are all kind of tacked into place. A lot of final welding needs to be done. Hopefully that'll be done in a week or so. But I'm going to keep working on the cross members. We're going to try to have it so it's actually sitting on the cross members yet tonight. So that would be really nice. So that's my goal, is to have it sitting on the cross members. Jonathan's going to work on that, and then he's going to start getting this all disassembled so we can get the steering figured out. So that's kind of our plan for now. So we ended up having a pretty good night. Jonathan got some stuff torn apart, but we did get the floorboards made for both sides, and all the brackets are kind of all welded together. So the transmission mounts should be mostly done. I might try to put another little bit of a brace that comes from here up to this hole, just to kind of hopefully beef that up a little bit. But otherwise, all that stuff works. We're going to get the pedals. We'll be back on Saturday, and we're going to get the pedals mounted and just start plugging away at some other things. Throttle's a big thing we got to get finished yet. And we got to get the steering hooked up. We get the steering and the throttle hooked up, and we'll be starting to make a lot of progress. We've got a drive shaft cover we got to build yet. I've been picking up steel for all this stuff, so we should be able to get all this stuff made hopefully soon. So we think we got steering kind of figured out. Again, we got really lucky with that shaft kind of fitting through the header. We just need to extend this now. I could not find a piece of pipe or a rod to go in there that was the correct length, so we actually have got a bolt that we're going to turn down on the lathe and make it so it slides in there so we can extend it. So that won't be too bad. Here in a little bit we should have some steering. Then we're going to get the pedals mounted down on here.
We got these done.
Yep.
Last time.
And then we got to figure out where the battery goes, and then we got to get a throttle figured out. So that's going to be kind of our next thing, is start trying to button up a couple of things, get them done, and then Jonathan's going to pull off this blanket here before too long to see how much room we have on that side for the pedal. I think we're going to have enough. I think we can actually spin this up a little bit, which will give us a little more room. But no, we'll have Jonathan sit in there, get the pedals figured out, and go from there. But first we got to go over to the lathe and cut down that shaft and extend the steering. Works out. Got her all milled or cut down, so now we can cut it apart and extend the steering. And we have steering again. Got a pretty close or tight steering ratio. I actually wish it was a little less than that, but the angles all the angles on the U-joints are quite a bit better. So we have steering. That's the big thing. Everything works again. So one more thing we can kind of check off our list that we got figured out. Next, on to brakes and battery and throttle. So we kind of have the paddles mounted. We took plates off, drilled the holes. Jonathan's kind of working on that. And we've been trying to figure out where we're going to put the battery. We need to be careful. The battery was kind of over here before, but our throttle is going to end up sitting right about there. So we can't take up too much room there. I just ordered a throttle cable. The one I thought we were going to use is not going to work. However, we need to make a drive shaft cover. This is kind of what they used before to just cover the yoke that they had connecting the rear end to the transmission. And I got looking at everything, and this is kind of, we don't need all of that. The amount of pieces they have, so we're actually going to cut it down here. Jonathan's going to take it off. We're going to cut most of that mount right on out of there and just kind of build some new stuff. And I think it's going to actually end up going a little bit better. Then we can put the battery on this side. We can slide it back a little. We can slide it back this way a little bit farther. So that should work out pretty good. So Jonathan's going to get the seat off. And we're going to start cutting all that out of there. I've been working kind of on the throttle a little bit, making brackets and stuff to hook up the throttle cable. Still don't have it 100% figured out, but hoping to get that kind of dialed in yet today. Gonna have Jonathan start by removing the seat so we can start doing the battery box and stuff like that. In the meantime, we've been doing just a lot of cutting of steel, getting ready to make the battery box. Jonathan's been getting ready to make the brackets for the drive shaft cover. So we're just gonna start kind of try to finish up some of that stuff today is kind of our plan. Finally getting the throttle stuff figured out. Jonathan's been working on getting the cage all cleaned up. That's all welded up, ready to go. Thought we kind of had a solid plan for the throttle, and then, well, Jonathan, show them what happened. Turns out, you're gonna have to end up pushing the throttle with your foot just to try to go full throttle, and we're not even at full throttle yet because carburetor's still got to come another little bit. However, I think we're gonna be okay just because I can make this longer where it pulls down here, which will pull it significantly farther, and I think we'll be okay there. I can move this cable down to about the base of it, and I think we'll be okay there. So hopefully all this setup is still going to work. We're going to continue kind of with it, but we're definitely going to have to change that a little bit. The other thing I might be able to do, I might have to make a new bracket, but we could probably bring that down a little bit too. I've got a bracket on there to hold it or push it up in the air higher. Otherwise, when you get to full throttle, it's way down here and it's hard to pull on. So yeah, we'll get it. And then let it come back, bud. Probably gonna need a couple return springs on there too, but overall I think we can get it. Like you say, I might move the cable mount down into there because I think that will still, I don't know, we'll see. We're gonna try the throttle first. Like I said, we got quite a bit of room there. And then hopefully that works. But that should be a gist of how the throttle is gonna work. So I think everything's going to work out. We just need to get her dialed in a little bit. We're gonna slid back in here. I can lashes that. Alright, let's see if I can do this without hurting myself.
That bar is really getting in the way.
Yeah, you know what?
Would you like some help?
I think I got her. Yep, we're gonna put this one on.
Not where that goes.
There it goes. There it goes. Haha. Then.
We'll have to put washers on that yet.
Yes, but.
Yeah.
Our end is finally back in it. Jonathan's kind of getting the last couple brackets scuffed. I'm getting them ready to paint, and then we're gonna get a coat of paint dusted on this roll cage. Again, we're gonna end up respraying this whole chassis next year. This year we just kind of want to make sure everything's gonna work. So we're just gonna use a little bit of Rallycam black, so everything, it's not bare steel and not gonna rust all year long. But we got the battery mount tacked in or welded in. We got the back weight mounts welded in. I was able to get that done today after work, so we're gonna get it painted yet tonight. So then hopefully we can start final mounting some stuff tomorrow. We got the new throttle mount made. That's sitting over here. Everything should work out there. We kind of got the geometry figured out on that one. And then while the paint's drying, we have a gigantic mess to clean up. So we've been kind of thrashing a couple of nights this week trying to get stuff ready so we can get it painted tonight. And once we get it painted, we got to do a little bit of cleanup. That way we can find our tools again. So we're gonna get this thing sprayed and be able to come back tomorrow and start putting things together. We're back at it this morning. Got a chance. We got the roll cage and everything all kind of sprayed black last night. Again, this is going to make it through this year, and then the chassis is going a whole different color next year. We'll pull the motor and engine and everything out to do that. But we need to get through this year and make sure all the changes we are doing are going to work. So that's all black. That looks so much better. So I'm back at it today. Jonathan isn't down with me yet. He's going to come down after lunch. But we had a pretty good day yesterday. Didn't actually get any filming done. But we were able to kind of get the throttle. Got to do a little adjusting with the shim right in here. But that all seems to work good. Seat's just sitting on there for now. But we got the floorboards on, cross members on, pedals are on, steering's all together. The only thing we've got to do is adjust this nut down here on the Heim joint. But Jonathan got all that put together. So we did have a little issue with the drive shaft. When I had it made, it's just a real short drive shaft sitting in here. We actually had to cut 3/8 of an inch off the yoke for the transmission. When we put it, I thought I had it measured correctly, and I was off a little bit. So it's in there good now. It was pushing into the back of the tail shaft too much. So we did have to cut that off a little bit. But overall, had a pretty good day. I think the thing I want to try to get accomplished today is we have to keep taking the seat in and out for stuff, and I would like to make it so we don't have to. So we need to get the drive shaft cover in, and then get these back weights sitting in here. They don't need to be bolted in, we just need to have them sitting in there, and the throttle and stuff kind of done, and then we can actually bolt the seat in for good. And then we can get the seat belts done, all that stuff. The plan is to fire this thing up next weekend. It's going to be close. I don't have all the fuel stuff figured out yet. So that's going to be another job of mine, is to try to get all that stuff, any parts we need, ordered. That way we can fire it up. We're going to move the gas tank up in the air a couple inches, and then we're going to mount the fuel pressure regulator, fuel pump, everything right over here. We're going to make a plate that sits in there, and that's where we're going to mount that. But yeah, that's kind of my plan. I want to get these welded up yet today, so they're all done, and then we can kind of go from there. But first thing is to get that drive shaft cover made. So I think I've got all the fabrication for the most part done on the drive shaft cover. It didn't turn out too bad. I kind of had a plan that it was going to go right there. We're using the existing bolt hole for the drive shaft cover back there. I just need to make some spacers, because if you do pull it all the way to one side, it will hit the yoke. Let's see if I can get it on the rear end. So we do need to make sure it's centered. It does sit a little low from being perfectly centered, but I'm actually okay with that. But overall, top will bolt on, this will bolt on the chassis. Should be plenty strong enough. I kind of went overkill on the steel for it, but Jonathan is sitting right there, so we don't need anything to happen. So things are going good. Jonathan's actually starting to put the sheet metal back on. We really like the new color. Painting it should not have been a priority, and nor did it need to get done, because we're not actually doing any... Yeah, don't drop it. But we both agreed that we kind of like this color a little bit better, and it just kind of happened to work out that we could get it sprayed. Well, overall, not too bad of a day. Or I might have to pull the rear end back apart. Something's not kosher, and I'm wondering if this axle isn't... It's spinning tight, and I've got a bad feeling that there was a spool in it before, and I think the axles might be a tick too long. I'm going to have someone else look at it, let me know what they think, but I'm pretty confident that's what it's going to be. So with that, we were not able to finish bolting the seat in, but the seat's in, the throttle is done. We cut for the charge pipe. Got the, there's no clamps or anything on it. The battery's sitting in it. We know all that stuff's going to work down there for the drive shaft cover.
There's like 5 feet of wiring.
Yeah, we got to dissect all the wiring. Some of that is just because of where the switches were located and where they're going to be now. But overall, we had a pretty good weekend on it. It looks a lot more like a tractor, so I'm pretty happy about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, both sides of that rear end
seem
way too long.
Both of them seem tight, so I'm hoping the axles are just too long, because if that's the case, I can just take a saw and cut them off. We'll be fine. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're going to look into that this weekend. Throttle works good.
We had to bend this.
Yeah, we bent the top of this so your hand fits in there a little bit better. Bottom belts are on. But again, we're hoping to fire it up next week. We got a lot of stuff to do. So we'll be at it a couple nights this week and next weekend, and hopefully we can make some noise. So Jonathan and I are back down here again tonight, trying to get some more stuff done. Did finally decide that we're actually going to mount these gauges up about right here so they're easier to see. I made a bracket for that today. I did get the plate welded in to mount the fuel pump and fuel pressure regulator. But I think tonight I'm going to have Jonathan start taking the intake back off. I need to put a port in the side of it for the boost pressure gauge, so kind of forgot about that. So I'm going to have him work on that while I work on wiring, and I'm going to try to tackle as much of the wiring as I can tonight, and then we'll move on from there. The rest of the fittings should be showing up for the fuel tomorrow, so hopefully I'll have everything to put the fuel system together tomorrow. So we're going to keep plugging away. Again, we're hoping to fire it up this weekend, so we got to keep going. All right, we've got the seat fully bolted in. Some of the wiring, a good portion of the wiring's done. I think we are going to try to crank it over, see if it builds oil pressure. I gotta see when we turn on the gauges, something's up with the oil pressure gauge. I might have something hooked up backwards, but we are going to use this line, and we're going to see if it builds up oil pressure. So we'll see what happens. All right, Jonathan? Crank it over. Just no ignition or anything, just start button. Gotta hold it in.
I pressed stop.
Yep, hold on.
What?
It ain't gonna do anything, but we're gonna pull these out.
You might blow that out.
I doubt it. It shouldn't take too terribly long, but I'd like to see some oil pressure getting built here before too long. It should squirt out this line. Stop. Battery's getting low.
I told you we need to discharge this.
We do need to. Alright, let's try take two. Stop. We got oil.
Should I turn on the gauge?
You can try it once. Turn on the gauge. Crank it over. Stop.
I told you it would go backwards.
I don't know if that's the correct way, but I'll do some looking. So we're back at it. Big thing today. We're going to try to get this thing to run today. For that to happen, we need a fuel system, which I'm going to be working on over here. Got a bunch of fittings, a bunch of line, and I don't know if I have everything we need to make it run. I know I have everything for the fuel pressure regulator and the fuel pump, but I did run into a snafu with the carburetor. I might be able to make something work for at least today. I've got another fitting ordered for that, but that's kind of our goal. Besides that, this is the wire for the fuel pump. That won't take much to hook up. I'd like to get the distributor locked out before we fire it up, but we can fire it up with the without the time in advance locked out. And we need to get the side shields mounted because the MSD box is currently mounted on that. So I think we're going to start with Jonathan's going to work on that. He's going to work on cutting the brackets for getting the plates put back on the side. And then after that, he's going to pull spark plugs. And I would like to do a compression check on this before we try to fire it up, just to making sure that's good to go. We do need to remount the throttle again, but that won't take much. So I think I'm going to get Jonathan set up to cut that. It'd be a lot nicer if our bandsaw blade came in, but you just have to cut it regular. And then I'm going to work on the fuel system. So I put the fuel system together, and Jonathan said, you know what, maybe we should clean out the fuel filter before we put everything together. I'm like, you know what, that's a good idea, good thinking, Jonathan. So I took off the cap, and there's no filter in it. They have a filter housing, but they're not running a filter in it. So it was doing absolutely nothing. So we'll have to get a filter for it.
Waste of space.
But we ran this all last year, and the guy was running it before. There's absolutely no filter in his filter housing, so that worked out well. If I had known that, I'd probably order a completely different filter. But until then, we're gonna make a space for it, and then we'll just try to order a new filter for it. But that's a fun surprise that we found this morning. But yeah, keep moving. So while Jonathan's over there finishing up the brackets for the side shield, I got most of the fuel system done. Ran it from the tank into the pump. I thought we'd have the tank a little bit higher. Pumps are made to push, not pull. However, I mean, the fuel level is going to have to get down to the very bottom. So as long as it's full, we're fine. It'll have gravity feed to the pump, which is what we need. It comes in the pump. This comes in the fuel pressure regulator. And then here's my feed for the carb. If I had a fitting, I could have it all hooked up. I might try to make a fitting later today, but we'll see. I do have one. It's supposed to be here on Monday. However, we cannot fire it up without that, so we might have to make something work for a while. So that's the feed line. And then here is the return port that goes back to the tank. I think it's called a continuous flow fuel pressure regulator. And what it does is, if you actually look in here, there is no blockage from here until the outlet. And once it hits the pressure, this valve opens up and then starts dumping back to the tank. So there's always a constant flow. It's not like a needle valve that's just holding pressure back. And then this is our boost reference port, which we will run a line from here up to the carburetor hat. That way, for every pound of boost this sees, it'll up the fuel pressure, I believe 1 psi, to compensate for the fuel it needs for the blow-through carb. So luckily, most of the fuel system is done. I hate these style of clamps. I looked all over Platteville for the fuel injection style hose clamps and could not find any. So these are on it for now. If I can find the other clamps, we'll probably swap them out before we go. Otherwise, I just got to get the wiring hooked up to it, which is going to be this yellow wire right here. And then I need to reroute those 2 wires for the MSD box. And I believe fuel pump and ignition will be wired up, ready to go. So a couple more things to check off the list, but we got a long ways yet to go. So we're back at it. We didn't get fired up yesterday, so we're going to give it a shot today. We ran over, grabbed some fuel. A friend of ours gave us some fuel. Jonathan did get the side shields on yesterday. What else? We got all the fuel lines made yesterday.
And then we got the breather cut.
Yeah, he got the breather line cut. We're not going to run the catch tank for now. Jonathan, you need to use a flush mount side cutters on there because that's going to hurt, and the zip tie needs to be tighter than that. So hold on here. We'll get that done. We do need to make a mount for this yet. I was working on the plate to lock up the ignition timing. That's almost done. It sits on like this. But we got to trim the ends a little bit because it's hitting the cap when the cap goes on. Not much, but we just got to trim that a little bit. I need to make the fitting for this yet so we can fire it up. But I think what Jonathan's going to do, some cleaning because we seem to make a mess every time we do this. So I keep working on the timing advanced bracket for the ignition timing lockout. And then, like I say, hopefully we can get this thing fired up yet today. All right, we have the fuel lines hooked up. I don't have a ton of confidence in this fitting, but we're gonna try it. So far, there's no leaks. We have Jonathan turn on the fuel pump. Okay, stop.
What?
I'm not seeing anything, but we have way too much fuel pressure. Turn it on again. Stop. It's going to like 14 psi, so we're going to turn that down. I don't see it leaking anywhere. So far, I don't see any leaks, which is good. Let me grab some tools and we're going to crank that down. All right, Jonathan, turn it on. Let me go. I'm going the wrong way.
Okay. Well.
Try it now. Let's get her dialed back. Hold on. Oh, let me see here. 3, 4, 5. We're going for 5.5. What do we got? Turn on. I'm right there. 3. Do it one more time, Jonathan. 3, 4. That should work. We're going to start in. Start right there. All right. We have the ignition system hooked up. I want to check if we have spark before we try to fire it. So, Jonathan.
Just crank it.
Turn on ignition. Do not turn on fuel. See what we got. We have spark. We're ready to try to fire this. So
Take that off.
let me unhook this and we'll see what it does.
Are you kidding?
Apparently my video isn't good enough because Jonathan wants to record this as well. So we're going to try this. Let's build some fuel pressure. Stop.
Yeah, you see that's on.
That's building a little more than I wanted to, but ready? One. Ignition and start. Stop. Go. Hold on, let me give it a little more throttle. Go. It works!
One happy kid.
It makes turbo cool noises! No, we just gotta finish it, but that is a big step to hear that thing crank. I think I got the timing a little off. We haven't checked that yet.
Yeah.
Fuel pressure seemed a little high, and it's definitely, it's shooting out raw fuel, so we definitely have it plenty rich, but.
The gauges both work. I turned them on.
Did you check both gauges? The TAC works?
Yeah.
Cool. So the only gauge we have to check is the boost gauge, but
And one happy kid.
it fired, which makes me very, very happy because that was my big goal for this weekend. Fuel pressure, I think, is set a little on the high side. It was at 6 psi, but overall, I think we're sitting pretty good. I know I have jets. When the guy built the carb, he said he was going to run it a little on the fat side, and when he was running it there, I could see some raw fuel coming out of the exhaust. But so we're back at it tonight. I had a good last week. Tractor finally runs. It looks like it's mostly together again. Tonight we're going to try to make some boost with it. So I'm going to work on trying to finish all of this. I just got to put a boost reference line in the side of this to run the fuel pressure regulator. While I do that, I'm going to have Jonathan put the side shields on or work on doing that. And then we're going to try to get some wiring cleaned up too. That way hopefully that looks a little bit better. But our checklist for everything we need to do is getting down there. I do got to go get some vacuum lines before we can actually run this. But otherwise, if it wasn't for the brakes, it wouldn't be too bad. So we're going to keep plugging away at it. Like I say, hopefully tonight we can fire it up, make some boost. We're also going to change out the wastegate spring. I have one lighter one that I want to put in here because we are looking to make as little as boost as possible for the first pass. So we're going to see what we can do. But we're going to get everything ready. Like I say, hopefully we can fire it up tonight. Put a little pressure to that carb and see if everything works. Alright, let's build oil pressure. Fire this thing up. Well, it stinks. The boost reference is working because it's building. Oh yeah, that's making me burn my eyes. Woo! So the boost reference is working. That's good. So back at it. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We've got the rear end and seat and everything back out of it again. We're kind of working on the rotors and stuff for the brakes, and the rear end just seemed a little tight. The ring gear and pinion seemed fine, but the spider gears just did not seemed like something was kind of binding up on them. So I actually pulled the rear end out yesterday. It's over on the bench. Took the whole thing apart. We did not actually find anything that was kind of a smoking gun as far as what was going on. But it's definitely a high mileage carrier. So I did clean up everything, put everything back together. There were some, I don't know, went around with some emery cloth and kind of tried to smooth off a couple of things, but that will go back in hopefully tomorrow. Tonight I need to work on a couple other things. We got a lot of little stuff. It's Wednesday now, and we are hoping to load this thing on Sunday. So we've got a lot of little things to get done prior to that. The rear end should go back together pretty quick. The seat goes in really easy. We were able to, these two got moved around and cleaned up So that's done. We did fire up mine. I checked. We're going to put a little timing into it. According to the spark plugs, it looks like it needs the timing to advance just a little bit. And this one we haven't fired up yet, but we will probably pull the plugs, make sure everything looks good there, charge the battery. We really wanted to get the new heads on this one for this year, but these upcoming pulls, but we just did not get it done. Too much time on Jonathan's tractor. So this one shouldn't take a whole lot, and this one should be ready to go. And I don't think the oil has changed in this one already. We shouldn't need to do a whole lot more in this thing, and that thing should be ready to go. It doesn't take too long to change the timing on it. But this one, we still have a lot of little things left to do. So I got a couple hours I can spend on it tonight. So I'm going to do some of the small things. I'm going to leave the rear end and brakes alone, but try to get some of the wiring cleaned up and the new fuel filter put on. And I've got to put the spacer in the blow-off valve yet. And I want to make a new plate for up on there. Just a lot of little things. We got a new sending unit we need to use. So we're going to just start plugging away at everything. Take 2, Unique New York. So we're down to days before this thing needs to be in Waterloo. It's Saturday now. We're leaving on Thursday. So a lot of little things to do. I've been in here the last couple of nights just trying to get some stuff done. I got the caliper mounts painted, brake rotor's kind of what I had welded on and painted. I got the shifter put on. Yeah, there's one of the brake rotor or the brake caliper mounts. Vent tubes done. We were hoping to load them tomorrow. This is the second one to go in the trailer the way we load them, and we are missing some of the fittings for putting in the fuel filter. So we probably will not be loading till some night this week, which ain't a huge deal. I was just kind of hoping to maybe have this week to relax and kind of do nothing and get the trailer loaded with other stuff, because we do have a bunch of little tools and stuff we need to load as well. But we're getting down there. Brakes have got to be assembled, and we got to bleed the brakes and the clutch. We got to adjust the brake pedals. We need to reset the fuel pressure. We have a couple of little things we need to do, and then we're going to put on some scales and see what it weighs in its new configuration. And then I want to jack up the front end with it on the scales to see how it weighs with the front end in the air, to see how it's sitting on the back 2 tires. So I got to go out and get the scales yet from a friend of mine that races. But I think we can get a lot of this knocked out this morning, or today. If not, maybe get most of it knocked out this morning, because Jonathan does have some other things he's got to do this weekend. But I think we should be able to get them all ready to go, and then we could just come in some night next week and get them all loaded. Well, in a fiasco of events, we have brakes. Nothing went right. The fittings I thought I had ordered to work down here did not work, so we kind of made something work, and it's not leaking.
It actually doesn't work.
It doesn't work too bad. And fittings I ordered from back here, I mean, I didn't want 90s off of the calipers.
They don't work.
But everything works, so we're not going to touch anything. Mm-hmm. We have brakes. The only thing we have to do before we set on the ground, and actually I think we are about ready to set on the ground, we're going to spray off clean off some things with brake clean. Jonathan's going to get stuff moved out, and then we're going to roll it ahead a little bit and put it on some scales. Well, it's back on its wheels for the first time since October, and it's actually lower than we thought it was going to be. So when we set on the ground, Jonathan started laughing. We both kind of started chuckling a little bit, because I was trying to get this roll cage lower than the other two. Mine sits, I've always thought, plenty tall, so we did what we could to get the purple one even lower. Well, this one is by far the lowest tractor we have, and now that it's on the ground, I really like the looks of it. I'm really glad we went to the new cage. I just think it looks so much better now. The color, which we didn't need to do, I like the color a lot better. I just think everything about the tractor looks a lot nicer. So we got some brakes with it. They're not great, but they work. And we do have an oil pan gasket leak, which I think we are probably going to have to just let for New Richmond. We will put it back up in the air one more time to probably drain the oil and stuff out of it. It only leaks when the front end's in the air. But it's leaking pretty good out of the back of the oil pan. So I don't know. We need to load them this week. So we really want to load them this weekend. I think I have another oil pan gasket. I don't know. We may pull it out. I haven't decided yet. So it'd be nice to not have a leaking oil pan. So we're going to kind of that'll be the last thing we're going to do if we do it. So we're going to now scale it and see what this thing weighs after all the changes. So we got her on the scales. They're still, 60 pounds on the front. The first pull we're going to go to, it's got to weigh 1350 with Jonathan in it. So currently we're sitting at 1114. Jonathan, hop in it. You know, because the 200-pound guy, that puts only at about 50 pounds of movable weight. With you in it, 1114, you're 1234. We can add weight underneath the seat. Currently there's only, there's the 60 on the front that could come off. And we may take that down to 40 is probably what we'll end up doing. But, I mean, we take 20 more off of that. That's going to take us down to about 1220, which is, we'll weigh 1350 at the scale. So that's 1220 to 1350, 130 pounds. And we need to put some under the seat yet. So let's take it off the scales one more time. I want to redo it, making sure that that is accurate. I'll take a picture with my phone. And then if that's accurate, we'll adjust the weights underneath the seat. And we'll take 2 weights off the front. So we backed it up because where we were kind of scaling it before, my floor in the shop is not the most level of things. But now you can see we're down to, 360 to 377, about 20 pounds, which to me that adds up. We're at 244, 255 on the front. I'm not as concerned about the left and right on the front because we're not planning on having the front end on the ground that much. With Jonathan in it, 1235. So currently the way it sits, we have 100 pounds of movable weight. We're going to pull 20 off the front. And then we are going to shove, we have 100 pounds of movable weight. So we are probably going to put 60 under the seat. If we put 60 under the seat and take 20 off the front, that'll give us 60 pounds of movable weight, if I'm not mistaken. So let's do that. And then we'll see what it weighs, and then we'll load the tractor with weights for Waterloo at 1350. We'll put like a couple extra on it because then we'll know that we have plenty of weight when we roll it out of the trailer. But I mean, typically we weigh 1450. We have plenty of movable weight for 1450. So let's take, I want to put, what do we have in 20s? We'll put 40. No, we'll put 35 on the right side. No, this is saying the left rear is heavier. Why would the left rear be heavier? We put all the turbo stuff on the right side.
I know. But
You know what we're gonna do? Let's jack up the front end
yeah,
with you in it and see what it is side to side.
I know, but like the MSD box.
Yeah, but not all that stuff was on there before. Let's jack it up with you in it.
Not the battery.
Yeah, the
whole
battery we
fuel
did move to the right
system,
side.
The whole fuel system.
Yeah. Let's jack it up with you in it so the front end's in the air and see if it's what it is side to side then. Okay? So we got the weights kind of switched around. We're at 1266, and it does say we're still 10 pounds heavy on the left. So if we have to adjust it, we'll do that with the suitcase weights on the back. But for now, we have 70 pounds. I think we're going to throw 40 on the front, 40 on the back. We might even throw 60 on the back. Let's do that. Just because each scale is going to weigh a little bit different. So we can adjust from there, but then we'll kind of be ready for Waterloo with the weights on this thing. Last thing we're going to do today is put the decals on the fenders. And then we're going to call it. We've got a family function we got to go to. But we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to try to adjust the carb, double check the fuel pressure. It was recommended to take it down 1 psi. And we want to set the ignition timing. After that, it's oil filter and oil pan, and it should be our oil filter, our fuel filter and oil pan, and it should be ready to go. So it's going to make it. It's going to be close. I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect, but we should be good to go. I think we're going to try to load them Tuesday night. So I was wanting to load them tomorrow, but we are not going to have the fittings for the oil filter or fittings for the fuel filter and the oil pan gasket in time. We may have an extra oil pan gasket, but it might be for an aluminum pan. We'll be back tomorrow, get the rest of the engine stuff done, and then we will also probably set the ignition timing in the white one and get the purple one fired up so those two are both ready to go. So we're getting there. It's going to be closer than I wanted it to be, but we will make it happen. So it's Sunday night. We're supposed to, initially this is the night we wanted to load the trailers. I think for the most part, those two are ready to go. We put a little bit of timing in my tractor. I'm going to run it Friday night. Dad's going to run on Saturday night. But I think that one's ready to go. Charge the battery. Rose's tractor, we got that fired up today. That kind of did what it usually does in the springtime for firing it up. So that, I think, went okay. We just charged the battery on that one, filled it with water. Those are not a big deal. This one, snafus today. So we come down, we were hoping to set timing and everything, and that just was not happy. The marks they had up for timing, I don't know. I'm kind of confused on how everything was set. So we had a pretty nasty oil pan gasket leak too, which we found out why that was. So it's Sunday night. We really did not want the oil pan off. We, with the pan off, I kind of could confirm where TDC was by looking at the connecting rods with it being a straight 4 or an inline 4. And we cleaned off the marks on the pulley on the front, and everything does kind of line up. So we can actually go off the pulley on the front with that timing mark. I don't know what marks they had on it before, and before all of this was so filled up with paint that you couldn't really make out the markings. So we kind of come down and sand that off. Jonathan's drained out the fuel once again so we can put the fuel filter in it. But we're going to call it a night. We're hoping to load them now Tuesday night, so we only have one night of leeway. But we're down to just kind of getting this one figured out. So once we get it tuned, and if we have to set some timing and stuff at the pole, we can. I would like to have kind of the tune we're going to run in it ready to go when we put in the trailer. So we went down and picked up the rest of our fuel today. I mean, we're going to make it, but it's going to be tighter than I wanted. But we're going to call it a night, and we're going to come back Tuesday night. Hopefully I can find some time in the next 2 days during work to do maybe the fuel pump and put the pan back on and stuff like that. That would help out a lot. Jonathan's got to work Tuesday afternoon after school, but I think we'll be okay. So we're going to call it night. I think we are going to go get shakes because I'm really craving a mint shake. So probably should be working on this, but currently a mint shake is going to take priority. So we're going to shut her down and go get ice cream.